Welcome to this YCN Sports Special. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us on YCN as we feature the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team, looking back on this historic year that led them to a Division III championship game appearance. Joining me to take a close look at this season will be head coach Nate Camp. I sat down with Coach Camp one-on-one and discussed the Cougars' championship caliber season. When we come back, we'll focus on their preseason expectations. But first, these words from some of the fine, community-minded businesses that have made this telecast possible. Please stay with us.
This YCN Sports Special is presented by Sear Lumber and Home Center with their newest location in Warner off Exit 7 of I-89. Bubba's Bar and Grill at Newberry Harbor, the area's best brick oven pizza, daily specials, and more. LaValley Building Supply, home improvement and construction from concept to completion. Additional support is provided by Clark's Hardware, Barton Insurance, Morgan Hill Bookstore, Country Houses Real Estate, and MJ Harrington and Company Jewelers. Congratulations, Cougars, on a great season.
Welcome to this YCN Sports Special. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us today on YCN as we feature the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team and looking back on their historic year that led them to a Division III championship game. Coach Nate Camp invited us to his home to reflect on this past season. The first question I asked Coach Camp was what did he and his team do to prepare for the year during the preseason?
We're coming back with 4 starters. I knew going into the summer when we had our workouts, we could do open gym and we could do a lot of we had games with other high schools in summer league, and we decided to do 2 team camps, which is the first time we've done that. A weekend tournament where you go to a destination. That was an overnight. We got to stay together. We carpooled. Those type of bonding moments were really critical for this group because I knew we had a really talented senior group that would be coming back, and then I had some younger kids. The sophomore group is really talented as well. So kind of bridging that gap, the age group a little bit. But it was easy because 2 of them are brothers. And then they've been hanging out together for a while with all the friends. So, and some play AAU together. So it was really on them to kind of come together, and they just bonded right away. We were really successful. I mean, we found our niche a little bit. We knew we had to share the basketball and play good defense, and they gained confidence. They really started to figure out how to win and how to be successful together, not just 1 or 2 guys, but as a unit. And that's what I think was so special about this year is they knew how to do it together as a group, and that's something when we come together, we say 1, 2, 3, we always say family. And it helped that you had brothers on the team, essentially, because that's what it's about, is that brotherhood. But this group had it from early on, and then that continued. We had a great summer, and then continue in the fall. We do workouts, and in the preseason when we have our scrimmages and tryouts, you could really see how the growth from the season before, and the confidence. And we had them over to the house here, and we talked about goals for the season, and they all had lofty goals. And I talked to them about this little number that I put on the board, and I said 3-12-3. And do you know what that stands for? And they didn't really know. And it was obviously March 12th, 3 o'clock. It's a championship game for Division III. And I think you guys are capable of getting there. Let's get this going. And they all bought in. And they were all, it was completely not necessarily my goal, it was their goal. And I was proud of them for fulfilling that. And obviously, we came up a little short in that championship game, but the growth from March of 2015 to today is, I'm just so proud of them. They've become men, and just it's a really special group.
You're watching this YCN Sports Special focusing on the great season played by the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team. When we return, Coach Nate Camp and I will take a closer look at their regular season and what led up to their tournament run. Please stay with us for more. Welcome to this YCN Sports Special. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us today on YCN as we feature the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team and looking back on their historic year that led them to a Division III championship game. I continued my conversation with Coach Nate Camp by asking him what he did in the regular season to prepare them for their tournament run.
Probably, some late game situation stuff as the season went on. I think we could have done a little bit better job with some of our late game decisions or late in the quarter. Like, for example, in the championship game, we had the ball with 10 seconds or 15 seconds left to go into the first quarter, into the second quarter. And we would usually go over some of our decision making in our stalls, but I think we could have done more of that just to gain more confidence of it in that scenario, to get better shots and better opportunities to score, especially in a game when we lose by 4 and it was a few foul shots here and there. Maybe we could have gotten to the foul line a little bit more in that championship game, because I think we only shot 3 foul shots that whole game. So if we could have gotten into the teeth of the defense and tried to create some fouls, I think that would have been something. But really, I mean, we went over a lot of our defensive sets. I thought, defensively all season we were excellent, and we started from day one. In preseason, we were doing all of our defensive stuff, philosophy of help and recover, and they bought in, and we were one of the better defensive teams in the state. If you look at a lot of the scores against similar teams, we were keeping people in the 30s, sometimes in the 20s. But definitely in the 30s or the low 40s most of the season, and that's a tribute to our defense and our length. I mean, we were big, so that created some mismatches in our favor. So, those types of things I think were very successful. I'd say there were a number of people that improved from last year. Several players. I mean, I thought we got a huge lift from Tom Johnson and Joe Starozic and even our captains, Trent Nordzi and Zach Matos had huge growth from the year before, getting stronger, more confident, showing great leadership. All the seniors, really, I mean, they just all stepped up. There were many times throughout the season where it might not have just been one person each time that was leading us in scoring. We had multiple people step up. Taylor Matos was leading us in rebounding and scoring for most of the early part of the season, and then he broke his thumb in right around Martin Luther King Day weekend, mid to late January. And so with that happening, there was, we could have gone one of two ways. We could have struggled until he got back, but a lot of guys stepped up. I mean, specifically Nicky Pidico, as a senior, came right in, started, and is an amazing defender. Also had some nice offensive outbursts, but he had the ability where his athleticism just changed the way we could play defense. And so we get a lot of steals and a lot of runouts. Same with Jack Van Etten. He'd come in and he played a lot of minutes for us and stepped up. Sam Borsier, Ray Critch, guys that were maybe not getting a lot of playing time early on, but because of the injury, I knew as a coach, and I talked about this with the team, we needed multiple people to now come in, because for a while Taylor was averaging 20 points and 12, 13 rebounds a game until the injury. So that wasn't going to come from one person. So we needed to have multiple guys step up, and the senior group was exceptional. I mean, Brandon Navarro, we call him the bench captain. I mean, he was tremendous with helping with the leadership on the bench, but also got in and did some things to help us. John Anderson as another senior. Just the list goes on and on with guys that could come in and help us, where they didn't shy away from the opportunity. They took on the challenge. We could have felt sorry for ourselves that Taylor got hurt, but instead they said, we got this. He missed 8 games. and we went 8-0 against some really good teams.
Wow.
We avenged the loss with Hopkinton. We went to Hopkinton and beat them on the road pretty handedly, and that was a tribute to, again, good team play. And then I think also from a surprising standpoint, Taylor coming back from a broken thumb, I didn't know how he was going to be able to help us down the stretch. I knew with his size at 6'6", he's just having him out there is going to be tremendous. Right. But it's like he didn't miss a beat. I mean, he took him a little while to get the timing down with everything, but he came right back and really defensively he set the tone, and then obviously he got into the offensive swing of things too. So. There's just, I could go on and on about each individual player because throughout the season, every single one of them made big plays.
Okay. You're watching this YCN Sports Special focusing on the 2015-16 season played by the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team. When we return, Coach Nate Camp and I will continue to look at their season as we focus on their encounters with Franklin. Please stay with us for more. Welcome to this YCN Sports Special. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us on YCN today as we feature the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team and looking back on this historic year that led them to a Division III championship game. Coach Nate Camp and I looked at their great season, and now we'll be picking up with their Franklin matchup in the Division III quarterfinals.
I can remember it like it was just yesterday because it was our first home playoff game since my first year as varsity coach, 7 years ago. And I can remember back 7 years ago, the team was nervous. You know what I mean? Like we were a good team back then, but you could sense that the crowd and the situation was a little bit too big. We made it too big. And so as a coach, I really wanted to focus on, let's keep this simple. It's always been defense, rebound, and hustle with this group. And it's been that way since November and even before, but really bind into those, the frameworks of what we're about. And so, I didn't need to give I have a dream speech. I didn't have to get them super pumped up. I was trying to keep them focused. Let's just go out there and take care of business. And what was special for them is they got off to a good start. Defensively, we were dialed in, and we got out to a big lead. And a lot of people got a chance. A lot of people got a piece of that game. You know what I mean? Like everyone got to play. We brought a couple of JV players up to round out our 15-man roster. And so Jordan Bright and Noah Tremblay, those guys got a chance to get out there and play with the big boys and have that experience. And so everybody got a taste. And I didn't know if that was going to happen again because as you advance into the playoffs, we'll get, I'm sure, to the Franklin game, which was one of the better high school games I've ever been a part of. And I'm sure our players would agree that it was just so electric. And so them getting that win under their belt kind of took the pressure off a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we were able to relax. Okay, we've got this under control. We've done it now. Now we can do what we want to do. One of our goals at the beginning of the season was to get to the Final Four. And we were close. I mean, at that point, you're one game away. And you want the kids to live in the moment. You know what I mean? And that was what was so awesome about this group is they embraced it. You know what I mean? They didn't shy away from a playoff game. They knew. I mean, a lot of these kids have played AAU or they've been in big games before. So I could look them in the eye and I could say, these guys are ready to go. You know what I mean? So. And they knew that they had the coaching staff. The coaching staff had their back, and we were going to support them every step of the way. But these kids were dialed in, and they had that eye of the tiger, which carried them through the rest of the tournament as well.
What a finish, or should I say finishes. As Coach said, an emotional roller coaster. You're watching this YCN Sports Special focusing on the 2015-16 season played by the Kearsarge Cougar boys basketball team. When we return, Coach Nate Camp and I will target the Division III semifinal game against perennial power number 2 ranked Conant High School. First, these words from a few of our great community-minded businesses that are making this special possible. Stay with us. Welcome back to our YCN Sports Special, looking at the historic year of the Kearsarge Cougar boys basketball team. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us. Now Coach Camp and I will focus on the number 3 ranked Cougars as they play a team that seems to have a permanent lock on the Final Four in Division III and has won more championships than any other school in the last 10 years. Number 2 ranked Conant.
We played them early in the season. That was one of the games that we won when Taylor was injured. We knew obviously Taylor was back for the playoff game, and we thought that the matchup, they had 2 All-State kids, 2,000-point scorers. One of them was a guard, Kenny Torres, point guard, really quick, lefty, can shoot it. And then they had Dana Bean, who's arguably, he was first-team All-State, one of the better players in the division, 6'6", could kind of do it all in the paint and rebounds well, block shots. So they had that combination, but I knew they also had a couple other guys that could play. So we knew we had our hands full with them, and they wanted revenge on us from earlier in the season. So the game was back and forth. They went on some runs, we went on some runs. I do remember vividly though, in that game, down the stretch, the ball seemed to be in their hands a lot. And so we had to defend really well because they had early on especially, they had guys that were knocking down shots. Hennessy hit some big threes for them early on. Torres was playing really well. And our goal going into that game was we couldn't allow Torres or Bean to be able to score 20 points each. You know what I mean? Like if we kept one of them at 15 and maybe the other one at 10, we're good. But if they both go for 20, and then if other kids chip in, that's going to be tough for us, And so we were fortunate in the sense that we kept. I think Beanie had 15, I think Torres had 15. Beanie had 10, and so I thought we did the job defensively. But down the stretch, like I said, they had the ball in their hands a lot because they were kind of stalling and they were hoping for the last shot, and they didn't want us to have the ball because they knew that we had offensively we had some mismatches and we had some guys that could score and do some things. So we were on defense a lot, and so I was a little concerned as a coach about were our legs fatiguing, but during the timeouts those guys wanted it. I mean, they knew that they had to make stops, and down the stretch, we were up 1. This game was amazing because we kind of won the game 3 times, and so at the end of regulation we're up 1. And Kenny Torres takes a shot and misses, and it's like less than 5 seconds to go. And then the ball gets batted around, and Dana Bean goes up and gets a rebound and tries to shoot it while he's in midair, like a quick put back. And as that's happening, the buzzer kind of goes off, but it was so electric in that gym that you couldn't really hear the buzzer. You couldn't hear what's going on. And then Zach Natos ended up with the ball, and he comes running at me as if we're storming the court at this point. The student body is storming the court. But I look over Zach's shoulder, and the ref has his hand up as to say he called a foul. And so he called the foul. My team didn't understand really what was going on. I didn't know really what the call was. And come to find out, he was fouled as he was going up to try to get the rebound and put it back. So a tough situation, but regardless, he's going to the foul line for 2 shots. Right. We're up 1. And so the hardest thing to realize is we were just celebrating, we're going to the Final Four. Now, this kid could make 2 foul shots, and our season's over. Right? So that was such a high and low of emotions, and I was looking at my players, and I felt so helpless, and I knew that they were looking for answers. And I'm like, I can't fail these guys right now. Like, I got to think of something, and so he makes the first shot, and he made it pure. Like it hit bottom of the net, and I knew if he stays in rhythm, he's going to hit the second one too. Our season's done. There's no time on the clock. I don't have any ability to run a play. So I call the timeout, and it was to kind of ice the kid. And I like Dana. You know, my players have played AAU with him, and every time I've coached against him, he's been super respectful. And he's a great kid. So you hate to do that to him, but I knew that our season was on the line.
Yeah.
You know, and so. He, fortunately for us, he missed the second one when we went out there, hit back rim. It was within centimeters of ending our season. And so I looked at the guys at that point and I said, we've got life. You know what I mean? Like, basketball gods were good to us. Let's get this thing done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's finish our goal and our dream. And they went out and took care of business in overtime. But it wasn't easy because, again, in overtime, it was a similar situation where, you know, they had an opportunity to try to win it, and it went down the stretch, and there was the ball was out of bounds. Matter of fact, so Franklin went down, and again, we're up one, and so all of a sudden Kenny Torres drives in, and we collapsed on him. He throws it to the corner to Hennessy, who's wide open. Let me remind you, we'd already hit like 3 threes. Wide open in front of our student section for a open three-pointer. And out of nowhere comes Superman, I call him, Trent Nordzy. And Trent just went up and blocked the shot as he gets it off. And so the ball's up in the air, and at this point there's like 5 seconds. And Trent, being smart, he went to, as he came back down, he tries to throw it into the backcourt just to end the game, right? To kill the clock. But the ref said he was out of bounds. So at that point, they had to take the ball out of bounds. They had less than a second, which in my mind that means, okay, it's going to be a tip-in, right? Yeah. Long story short, they inbound the ball. The kid catches it, takes a dribble. I'm like, it's got to be over, and he shoots it. He misses, and at that point, we stormed the court. You know, I was looking for the first guy to hug, and you know, it was special that led to the Final Four. But it wasn't easy for these guys. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like the Campbell game where it was everybody got in and played, and it was a blowout. We had to go earn that one, you know, and no one deserves to go to the Final Four. You have to, you know, go get it. And I was proud of our guys because they did. I mean. It was one of the coolest celebrations. You know, we're in the locker room and they sneak up behind me. They dump me. Zach Mathos dumps me with water. I mean, it was just one of those moments that you know, I hope every coach can have, because it was just special. That was a defensive battle. They're probably one of the better defensive teams in the division. I was mentioning that, you know, we're right up there, and to hold them to 31 points, you know, Conant historically, I think they were in 10 out of the last 11 Final Fours. So, I mean, they basically lace up the sneakers and punch their ticket. They're at the Final Four. And Coach Saucier does a great job, and he's a great coach. So I don't want to take that, you know, for granted. I mean, they work for it, obviously, but their program is excellent. And so I knew when we had the draw where we were the 3 seed, they were the 2 seed, if we're both fortunate enough to advance, we were going to meet each other in the Final Four. And I could just sense the way the defense was being played on both ends. I thought, you know, we were going to have to. We've done a combination all season of doing some 1-3-1 trap, and then we play man to man. And I thought that night our man to man defense was exceptional. And I don't think Conant really thought we were going to be able to man them. And we kind of we're going back and forth. We were having a hard time scoring also. So that's why the low scoring was in that situation. But you know, looking at down the stretch, you know, we made some key possessions where we converted. So we were down 3. No, we were down 2 with Josh DeGrenier going to the foul line for a 1-on-1. This kid's first team All-State. The year before, Conant knocked us out of the tournament. Okay, so we knew we wanted to avenge that a little bit as well. And DeGrenier was probably like 9 for 10 from the foul line that game a year ago. And so the kid's pretty automatic, and he went and he missed the front end of that foul shot. And so obviously we had life. We come down. Zach Matos hits a kind of a turnaround jump shot in the middle of the lane off the backboard to tie it. And they had possession with the final 20 seconds. And again, our defense just stepped up, and they called timeout, but after the timeout, they didn't get a shot off. They shot it, but it was after the buzzer, so we go into overtime. And in the overtime, Tom Johnson, as a sophomore, showed us what he's made of. I mean, I've always known that he's a special, basketball player, but he just kind of looked at Zach Matos on the tip, to start overtime. And he basically just kind of gave him a head nod or a look to the side, and Zach tipped it to him. Being that he's 6'8", he's going to get the jump. He tips it to him, and Johnson just races in for a layup to make us up 2 to start it.
Wow!
And it was like we just punched him in the mouth.
Yeah.
And they didn't really. They were just staggering most of the overtime. Johnson got another. Taylor hit him on a bounce pass. For another layup where he was cutting back door, got a layup to put us up 4, and again, Conant just kind of looked like they were dazed and didn't really, for a senior-laden team like they were, I thought that they were going to be able to, handle that. And again, we made a lot of mistakes in the sense of, we had some turnovers, so they still had a shot. Trent Norsey made 2 big foul shots, and helped seal that game. And then they called timeout right before, I think with maybe 7 or 8 seconds left. They called timeout. They had the ball right in front of their bench, and one of my buddies from high school, he sent me the video of just that clip, and I'll never forget it because it literally, they ran a play. We played great defense, and they don't get a shot off again. And so the shot's kind of after the buzzer, and it was just pandemonium. I mean, again, similar to the Franklin experience, but better because on a bigger stage,
right.
Down at that SNU. I mean, the entire student section was just electric, and you win in the semifinals, going to the state championship. A year ago, we were the 19 seed in the tournament, and now we have a chance to win the state championship. I mean, these guys had worked so hard, and it was all them. I mean, they just continuously believed, and I like that they played with an edge, because going into that game, I mean, I knew we had all of the families and the student body, and everybody believed, but everybody across the state didn't give us a chance against Conant, and they were already pinning it that it was going to be Conant versus Pelham, and I love that our guys took that as motivation. Said, give us a shot because we're going to beat these guys tonight, and that's their heart, that's their character, and that's what they're about.
Another overtime. The emotional roller coaster continues on this YCN Sports Special, focusing on the 2015-16 season played by the Kearsarge Cougar boys basketball team. Next up is the championship game. We'll look at it quarter by quarter, but first, let's take a break to hear from the good businesses that enjoy and support local programming on YCN.
This YCN Sports Special is presented by Sear Lumber and Home Center, with their newest location in Warner off Exit 7 of I-89. Bubba's Bar and Grill at Newberry Harbor, the area's best brick oven pizza, daily specials, and more. La Valley Building Supply, home improvement and construction from concept to completion. Additional support is provided by Clark's Hardware, Barton Insurance, Morgan Hill Bookstore, Country Houses Real Estate, and MJ Harrington and Company Jewelers. Congratulations, Cougars, on a great season.
Welcome back to our YCN Sports Special. Today, Coach Nate Camp and I are looking at the historic year of the Kearsarge Cougar boys basketball team. Thanks for joining us. Now, Coach and I will focus on the number 3 ranked Cougars as they play in their first championship game in 16 years against the number 1 ranked Pythons from Pelham. I asked Coach what he saw as the challenges playing this powerful Pelham team.
It was, I think everybody was kind of getting their jitters out a little bit. I thought from a defensive standpoint, I was fine with that pace because that meant that Keith Brown was under control. I mean, this kid is the player of the year for our division. But he also got Mr. Basketball, which is the best player in the entire state. So regardless of size of the school, some of the Division I schools, Nashua, Central, he was the best player. So I knew that our game plan was focused around stopping him. So if we could probably keep him at 20 or in the low 20s, we're going to have a shot at this. But if he goes for high 20s or into the 30s, that means that him combined with a few other kids scoring, it's going to be tough. Especially when they play good defense too. I mean, that's I'd say us, Conant, Pelham, those are the schools that Hopkinton. Those guys. Everyone they were there at the Final Four because you can lock people up defensively. So I was okay with the pace. Obviously, we missed some shots early, and that was a little frustrating because we got some really good looks, and it happens. We had some really good looks at the basket, some open shots, but then also some layups that just rattled around the rim and popped out. So I thought that we were attacking the basket, so I thought early on I was okay with that. Okay. Yeah, we were trying to contest a lot of their stuff. I mean, I got to hand it to the whole team because it was a complete team effort defensively. But specifically, when you're playing a diamond in one, your focus is on their guy. Their all-star. So that was Tom Johnson's job. That was Nicky Pidico's job, and it was Trent Nordzy. They all three took time on Keith Brown as their best player. So, and then everybody else showed help. And so, I spoke to him at the All-Star game recently, and he's like, you guys were one of the toughest teams I've played all season. And so that was a testament to our guys, making him work for everything he got. I think he ended up with 22, and some of that was late with some foul shots. So I think he had like 18 maybe into the fourth quarter, which again, I'm okay with that. The kid's, he's the best player in the state. And like I said, we don't go 8-0 with Taylor Matos off the court with a broken thumb if Deco and those other kids didn't step up. And it was because of, in essence, that injury that all these other kids got some valuable playing time and some experience. So I could go to Deco in the championship game and say, you're going to stop this kid. And he's like, okay, I got you. We had some good looks at the basket and just having a hard time scoring. I mean, we were... and on the flip side, defensively, we were fine. I mean, I will if we hold Pelham to 8 in a certain quarter, we did a great job. Offensively, I think we could have spread the floor out a little bit more. What we were trying to do is we were trying to take advantage of our mismatches. Keith Brown, I think at that point, had picked up his second foul, and so we were trying to get him his third. And but what he was doing is he was cheating off of Joe Starozic, kid who I'll talk about later on in the fourth quarter. So Joe's one of our sophomore shooters. He was helping off of Joe and doubling down on our bigs. And so what we were trying to do is we were trying to have different people flash to the high post, so that way we can work the high-low and get it inside, because when we can get it inside and have a good balance of inside, outside, so good guard play, good post play, we're tough. That's kind of been our ability to beat teams, because a lot of teams across the state may have good guards and they may have a good post play, but they don't have both. And we certainly did. With Trent Nordzy being first team All-State and Zach Taylor and Tommy Johnson all on honorable mention. I mean, we had guys that could perform in different positions. Had we been able to just make those reads a little bit better, we had a couple turnovers and we forced it. But again, like I said, defensively, I'm fine with that. It was at the end of that quarter, though, where we had the ball with about, I think, 20 seconds to go, so we had the last shot. We held for it. And I was looking for our guards to be a little bit more aggressive with their dribble, and they were just we were stalling for the last shot, naturally. But we got like a desperation 3, and in that situation, I want us going to the basket.
Right.
You know, I want us to be able to dribble drive somebody, take them off the dribble, maybe distribute for a layup or for an open shot that's a good shot, or to the foul line. And so it was at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the half, which, if you think about it, if we score on both of those, that's 4 points.
Right.
In a tight game is critical.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an area that we just gotta shore up and watching the film, I know that's an area that we'll have to be cognizant of next year, is making those good decisions down the stretch. I really wanted them, to just understand that, just to relax and just go out and this win or lose, this is it.
Right.
And you have to leave it all on the court, with that passion that you've played with all season. So from that standpoint, I was, while at the same time, again, getting back to my point, I didn't want to make it too big.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that they were putting too much pressure on themselves. And they, they battled throughout that whole second half. I mean, I think defensively, again, our focus at halftime was continue to make Brown work for his and get to the other players, get a hand up on the other players. We knew that some of the other guys were going to make some plays, but could we limit that? Everybody across the state had told us, our coaching staff, I mean, Greg Tedeschi, Jim Tucker, Peter Tremblay, we have a great staff. And they've helped me tremendously this season with scouting and with the ability to break down film. And they're, whether it be myself on the phone talking to another coach across the state, or them emailing, talking to other people, everybody was telling us, make somebody else beat you. Don't let Brown beat you, because he's proven he can.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the thought going into the second half. And if we hold him to 11, we're going to be okay. We just got to score some points.
Right.
And so again, defensively, I thought we were great. We just needed to execute offensively, and we started to a little bit. And I think we got a little bit more comfortable. I think if we were within striking distance with like a basket here or there, or if we could take the lead on them, I thought that team might tighten up a little bit, Pelham, because from last year's team, they won the state championship a year ago. And Keith Brown was the only one that really is back from that team. They had some other players that were on the team, but didn't have the experience of being there.
Right.
So I thought, and obviously we hadn't been there either. But at that point, my guys, I'd roll with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I knew that they were going to be fine and handle it. I knew Starozic was going to help us at some point. And we actually decided to start Deco in the second half, because he was doing such a good job on Brown. And so that was like a defensive decision. And it wasn't that Joe wasn't, helping us. It was just, that was defensive. And then in the fourth quarter, I looked at Starozic, or actually in the third quarter, I said to him, hey, you're going to be getting a look. We're going to get you back into this game. And I know you're going to help us. You're going to knock down a couple big shots. And sure enough, it got into the fourth quarter. We subbed him in, gave Deco a break, because Deco was playing great. We put Nordzy on Brown, and that was strategic, because we didn't want Trent to get in foul trouble early. So I knew if late in the game, if we could put Trent on Brown, now all of a sudden he's seeing a different body. Someone that's a little bit taller than Deco, a little bit more length, a little bit stronger, and now it's a different look. And Deco had held him to 11. Let's just give him a different look.
Right.
And so he doesn't get comfortable. And sure enough, Starozic comes in, hits 2 huge threes, and almost hits a third one. That just brought the place down. And so, that kid's 15 years old. You know what I mean? That's what's crazy is, we were starting 3 sophomores, and I didn't even bat an eye at that, because these guys, they've been in big games before, and they, again, they have that eye of the tiger. They have that ability to say, we got this, coach, regardless of what age we are, and so, that was a critical part. And then obviously, I thought one of the turning points that I thought was going to really break Pelham's back was when Nordzy drove in the fourth quarter, and he went in for a layup, and it came off the front of the rim, and Zach just comes flooding in for the offensive rebound and gets the tip dunk. That just, like, the place erupted, right? And I got a picture upstairs of the bench. I think it was the Concord Monitor took a picture of our bench after that play, and we were all just going crazy. And the Pelham student section is right behind our bench, and you could just see all the Pelham, like, there's one girl going like this, you know, like they knew that they were in trouble, and we just needed to make like one extra play here or there to kind of finish it off. But you know, that was a critical point. And you know, when you're talking about leaving it all in the court, you know, a senior captain stepping up like that was huge. And you say, oh well, he's 6'8" and he shouldn't be doing that. Well, you still got to perform under the big lights, right? You know, and for what, you know, Zach's been through with, you know, different injuries, and he's matured so much, and I was just so proud of him. He said before the game, you know, it's coming again, this kid's 17 years old, he says, guys, I'm not even nervous right now. I want to go out and play my best, and we all should do that right now, and let's go out together, you know, with a win. And they did everything right, and it was just too bad we didn't get the win, but they laid it all on the court, and I'm just proud of them for that. They've shown so much growth.
You are watching this YCN Sports Special focusing on the great season played by the Kearsarge Cougar boys basketball team. When we return, Coach Nate Camp will discuss the fourth quarter of the championship game and how it played out. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our YCN Sports Special, looking at the historic year of the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us today. Now Coach Nate Camp and I will focus specifically on the fourth quarter of the Division III championship game that came down to the wire. Let's listen in.
Again, it was back and forth after that tip dunk that I was talking about. And then it got to be like 36-36. And again, low scoring. And we had a couple possessions where we stopped them. And we ran one of our bread and butter plays to get it down low. Taylor got a great look, thought he got fouled. And so missed the shot down low, but we got a good look, you know what I mean, and it just didn't convert. They come down, and it's about right around 2 minutes, and so they were running offense. And at that point, again, we were doing a great job. I think Brown at that point probably had right around 18 points. Their other guys had contributed a little bit, but I mean, they scored 36, you know, at that point. So again, we were totally okay with that. They do a high ball screen, and they caused the wing on our diamond to kind of collapse a little bit in the middle. And then the point guard kicked it to a wide open shooter on the wing. And number 10, his name's Trevor Gagnon. He hit a big three, you know, and that put it 39-36. And in no means was the game over, but that was just a big shot. Right. Because at that point, I think it was like a minute 45 to go. We had climbed back and battled, and I thought we were right there, and we just needed that to hit back rim, you know, because we just needed that other opportunity to come down and take the lead. Because I think had we taken the lead, again, Pelham tightens up a little bit. Now all of a sudden we're in control. They're going to start thinking about fouling us. We're going to go to the foul line. Now we've got the upper hand, and we get the momentum of trying to finish that off. So they're up 3. We come down. We run one of our sets, and it gets to Zach. Zach drives the basket, like I was telling him most of the second half. Go to the basket, because what they're doing is they were collapsing on Taylor, his brother, and so we need to make sure that we made them pay for that. But because if they're not going to guard Zach at the high post, he needs to dribble drive in. And they stepped in, and it was a questionable call, but they called the charge. Wasn't Zach's fault at all. I mean, he needed to do that. He needed to drive in there and try to get a basket. He made the basket, but it was called a charge. So, you know, that was a tough play. And then they at that point, I knew we needed to think about fouling. We were, you know, at that point it was just about a minute to go, and we had DiLoretto DiLorenzo's their post player who doesn't shoot very well from the foul line, and he got the ball in the out of bounds play, and we were screaming like foul him, and we didn't get to him in time. So Brown gets the ball. He makes, I think he made 2. All right, and then so now they're up 5, and then we come down. We have to, get some good look. So all of a sudden it's late. The ball gets scattered around a little bit, and Taylor Matos dives for the ball on the floor, just lays out, tips it right to Trent, and like it always happens. I mean, the big players step up in big time situations. Taylor does that, helps his teammate. It goes right to Trent. Trent knocks down a 3.
Wow.
So now we're down 2 with about 7.6 or something like that to go in the game. Burn a timeout. We're down 2. We have to foul right away. So we do that, and we send Gagnon to the line. And I'm like, fine, it's not Brown. Right?
Anyone but Brown,
And then so he misses the front end. We get the rebound. And during the timeout, I had talked about, hey, on a make or miss, we got to get our guards going in transition up the floor, find an outlet, and let's go. And Zach got the rebound and did the right thing. He started flying up the court because we only had 7 to go. So he comes up the floor and he sees Starozic. And during the timeout, I told Joe, go to the deep corner because it'll spread the floor out. And if they're collapsing in the middle, Joe's going to be wide open in the corner. He just hit 2. He's hitting that one, and we're winning the state title. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to shake down in my mind. Right? Or if not, we're going to try to go to the basket and tie it and go into overtime. We just had 2 overtime games. We won both of them, right? So let's roll with that. Unfortunately, the guards got defended, and Zach continued to dribble it up. Was trying to get to Starozic, and it got stolen. Again, it wasn't Zach's fault. It was just he was trying to make a play, and we had limited time, and so. That's kind of how it ended. Keith made, a couple foul shots to bump it to a 4-point game, and that's how it ended. But, I think had we had the opportunity to get the ball to our guards right there, and then we were going with an opportunity to either win it or tie it, I like our chances. But it's something to build from, and I think the legacy that these seniors have left is pretty, astounding. And, to do what they've done and the turnaround that we've had in like a year's time, it's pretty tremendous. I obviously still hurting from that loss, while at the same time trying to really preach to these guys of how far they'd come, and that nobody had given you a chance, and now look what happened. But that's a testament to their character. It's a testament to the families that they come from and in this community. I mean. The Pelham coach said to me after the game that was one of the greatest student body sections and family support that he's seen from an opposing high school. And it doesn't shock me from Kearsarge because that's how it's always been. Even in seasons where we haven't been as successful, they come out and support basketball and all the sports. So again, it's just the Kearsarge way, and so proud to be a part of it. And the kids deserve that. The kids really, as much as it hurt to lose that, I think the life experience to show what hard work can get them, and the experience, the journey, I think will pay dividends for them. And you're going to be reading about them. They're going to be going off doing some amazing things and being successful in life that even beyond basketball that we're all going to be proud of.
You're watching this YCN Sports Special focusing on the great season played by the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team. When we return, Coach Nate Camp will tell us exactly how the championship game ended and his thoughts about the Kearsarge basketball program and community as a whole. Please don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our YCN Sports Special looking at the historic year of the Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us. Coach Nate Camp and I will now discuss in detail how the end of the Division III championship game played out and his take on the Kearsarge basketball program and the Kearsarge community.
This this program is still looking for that championship. And not only do you deserve it, but you got to go earn it. But this community deserves it, you know, and it's a rich history of basketball here.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, Marty Brown, you know, paved the way for that with a lot of success in his time, and all the families that fed into that, whether it be the Ferreiras, Brayshaw, Lava Pacello, Gassman, the Frisbees, you know, we were talking about Heffron, you know, my first year, and just a lot of kids that have kind of paved the way for all these current players. I mentioned to them as they were taking the court, you know, in the semis, I said there were guys that wore that jersey before you, that never got here, you know, and so I think, you know, the legacy of this current senior group is a special one, and the underclassmen now know that their legacy could be, you know, to finish what we started. Yeah. So. I love these guys. It was a privilege to coach them, and I know we still have a lot of work to do, but they made a lot of life memories, and I know that, you know, when they're at their 40th birthday or they're getting at their wedding someday, they're going to say, "Hey, remember that time we beat Franklin and went to the Final Four? Remember that time we beat Conant in the Final Four to go to the championship game?" And their face is going to light up. But I think it's. You know, a lot of this community is going to be talking about this team for years to come, and rightly so, because you know, everyone before then, they've heard about those names I just mentioned. Now they're going to be talking about Matos, Nordzi, Johnson. That those names are going to be household names, and they deserve it.
Thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me, Coach Camp, and congratulations to both you and the Kearsarge Cougars on a very successful and exciting year. I look forward to next year when we will be sitting down again to discuss the first basketball state championship victory in Kearsarge history. You've been watching this YCN Sports Special. Please thank our sponsors. Without their support, this coverage would not be possible. I'm Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for joining us.
This YCN Sports Special is presented by Sear Lumber and Home Center with their newest location in Warner off Exit 7 of I-89. Bubba's Bar and Grill at Newberry Harbor, the area's best brick oven pizza, daily specials, and more. La Valley Building Supply, home improvement and construction from concept to completion. Additional support is provided by Clark's Hardware, Barton Insurance, Morgan Hill Bookstore, Country Houses Real Estate, and MJ Harrington and Company Jewelers. Congratulations, Cougars, on a great season.